Hey everybody, so this past year specifically, I've been on a mission to branch out and watch as many movies and shows that I've either always known about and never got a chance to actually watch it, or completely new stuff that I never heard about. But anyways, during the journey, I've come across so many shows and movies that are now some of my all-time favorites. I've watched Malcolm in the Middle, and now that's one of my favorite shows. I watched Eve, and now that's one of my favorite shows. I watched Quantum Leap, and now that's one of my favorite shows. And I watched Half and Half, and now that's one of my favorite shows. I've watched so many different shows from so many different places and periods of times. And one of the shows that I've watched this past year was Boy Meets World. So let me just give you a brief description of Boy Meets World in case you don't know. So Boy Meets World is an ABC sitcom that ran from 1993 to the year 2000. It had seven seasons, and it followed the life of a young boy named Corey Matthews as he grows up in Philadelphia with his family and Topanga. My introduction to the whole Boy Meets World thing was Girl Meets World. When it came out in 2014, I was 11 years old. And that show, when I first watched it, I loved it. I really, really loved it at the time. Now, I think it's alright. I don't like it as much as I did back then, but I still like it. And Girl Meets World was my introduction into the whole Boy Meets World universe. That was my first introduction into Corey and Topanga and Sean and the whole universe. And it's very odd because usually whenever there's a spin-off series or something, with Full House, I was a diehard fan of the show Full House, the original show from 1987 to 1995, that show. I was a diehard fan of that show before the spin-off series came out. And then I watched the spin-off series and I liked it, but not as much as the original. But with Boy Meets World, I don't have that nostalgia thing attached to it because Girl Meets World was my first introduction into the universe. So let me just give you my thoughts on Boy Meets World. The show has 7 seasons, like I said, and I watched it until the middle of season 2, and then I was just I can't watch it anymore. The show was so hard to get through. It felt like a chore, trying to watch every episode. I don't know why. I never struggled this hard to watch any type of show. To me, overall, I just didn't find the show very interesting. Also, like I said, I've been on a mission this past year specifically to watch more shows and stuff that I didn't really give a chance. And part of that is me watching non-white shows, watching more black shows, watching more Latino shows, more Asian shows. And because of that, me seeking out shows full of people of color, and Boy Meets World is an old sitcom where the majority of the cast is white. Maybe that's a reason why I just didn't really get into the show as much. But overall, I just thought the show was pretty bland and uninteresting. I just didn't see the appeal. It didn't really appeal to me. There were 2 episodes that stood out, just 2, but everything else didn't really stand out. So the episode where Sean pulls a really bad prank, and then his dad gets mad, and then he tries to hide with Corey's family so that his dad doesn't find out or something like that. That one stood out. And then there's also a Halloween episode where at the end Corey kissed Topanga for the first time. Those 2 episodes stood out and were the only times where this show has kept me captivated. The rest of the time I was just pretty bored by Boy Meets World. It was so hard to get through. I watched this show in March. That's when I tried to watch it. I'll give this show another chance next March. That's what I did with Malcolm in the Middle. When I first saw it last year, I didn't really vibe with it like that. But then I tried again next year and I ended up loving it, and I binge watched it for the next 2 months. So maybe that'll happen with Boy Meets World, maybe not. Right now it's looking like it's not looking that way. But I really do like Girl Meets World. To me, it's better. Maybe it's because like the main characters are females, and I tend to gravitate towards shows and movies like that are either have a female lead, a black lead, or a gay lead. Just what I personally gravitate towards. Also, Girl Meets World has a better theme song. I just like it better, and because for me that was the introduction into the whole Boy Meets World universe, I'm always gonna like Girl Meets World better and have more nostalgia for that than I will for Boy Meets World. And I do think a lot of spin-off series like Girl Meets World, Fuller House, a lot of them like rely heavily on the fact that they are a spin-off series. Like they're not able to stand on their own. But I think Girl Meets World can, because I didn't know Boy Meets World existed when I was watching it. And I was like, cool. Okay, anyways, let me talk a little bit more about Girl Meets World. So, you know, Girl Meets World follows the life of Corey and Topanga. They got married and they had kids. Riley and Augie. Riley, the oldest daughter, the oldest child, she's the girl in Girl Meets World. And basically it's about her growing up just like her father did and going through different life lessons. And I said that when I was young, like 11, 12, 13, and watching this show, I really, really loved it. It was one of my favorite Disney shows at the time, but now looking back, I don't like it as much for several reasons. Some of it has to do with the show itself, but some of it has to do with like the people who were involved in the show and what they ended up doing later on. First of all, Sabrina Carpenter, excellent. Right now she's making beautiful music. On Purpose will always be my favorite song by her. Like, even though she's still making good music now and performing in concerts and everything, On Purpose is just, that's always gonna be my favorite song by her, my family's favorite song. Like, we have inside jokes about that song. Like, it's just so good. I love Sabrina. I think she's talented. And clearly the best actress on the show. One of the top best Disney Channel actresses ever. Right up there with Selena Gomez and Raven Simone. Yay. Riley Matthews, I think I was too hard on her character the last time I talked about Girl Meets World. She's fine, she's decent. At least she's not boring. She's just very, like, innocent. But the actress that plays her, I don't know what she's been up to recently, but I do know that she has the same birthday as me, but she's a year older. Okay, let's talk about the boys on the show, Farkle and Lucas. Farkle was like the nerdy type of boy who had a crush on both Maya and Riley, who were like best friends, and he could never choose between them because like Riley was good and pure and innocent and Maya was like bad and devilish and everything. And he even made a joke like angel food cake and devil food cake. But anyways, oh, there was also Lucas, who like was the heartthrob of the show from the very first episode that he came. Like Riley had, like the whole class had a crush on him, and I'm like, if you take away his looks, there's not much personality there, which is the issue with a lot of like teenage content. Like so many shows with teenagers in general, so many shows and movies where most of the cast are teenagers. A lot of the characters, especially like the boys, like have no personality. It's just like they look really, really good. And I'm just like, girls and gays, why did we fall for that? We should be smarter. We should have used our brains. Like now that we're older, we can look back and be like, we were so foolishness to just like drool over that, like disregard his entire lack of a personality and just use his gorgeousness as his personality. But yeah, Lucas had no personality and everybody was like drooling over him. And okay, me too, but even I was like, you guys don't see Farkle? Like, I always thought that the actor that played Farkle looked more attractive than the actor that played Lucas, but everybody was drooling over Lucas. Maybe it's because Farkle actually had a personality, like he was a genius and he was funny. Lucas didn't have half of what Farkle did personality wise, but everybody drooled over him. You know what? We'll just forget it. We were young, we were teenagers, we were kids. Whenever they put a really gorgeous man in front of us, we just drool over it. But you know what? It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. So yeah, that's my like rant about Boy Meets World and Girl Meets World. Boy Meets World was just very, very hard for me to sit through. Like, I've never had that experience with any show that I've ever watched. And I truly did try to give it a chance. Like, I watched it until the middle of the second season. Like, I was just trying to push through and, like, I just couldn't take anymore. But I'll give it another chance next year. And Girl Meets World, I still love it. Not as much as I did back then. It's still alright. I do love how the show gave us Sabrina Carpenter. That's like one of the best things to result out of Boy Meets World and Girl Meets World is Sabrina Carpenter. Love her. So, yeah. Have a nice day. And tell me what other shows and movies I should watch. And if you want to hear me talk about any more. Alright, bye.